Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about the new perk Shoulder the Burden that's coming out with the Houndmasters chapter. A lot of people are discussing this because the effect it has is pretty terrifying from the killer perspective. What it allows you to do is trade a hook state with somebody. So if someone is on death hook and they're being tunneled out, you can unhook them and remove one of their hook states. So that effect is extremely powerful. But the more I think about this and the more I give it credit, I don't think this is a very well-designed perk because it benefits the wrong group of people. In my opinion, in regular matches of DBD, solo queue, duo queue, and all that stuff, this will not be a very good perk. However, in very super sweaty four-man comp team, this will actually be very annoying to deal with. So I think we should have perks that, don't make the top get more up here. We should have the bottom, equal out to here. But we have a perk that really only benefits basically very coordinated teams here. And I want to go over why that's the case. So I think in your average match of DBD, this is actually going to get people killed more than it actually helps people. So the first part is the killer has to be relentlessly hard tunneling someone for this to have much use. It's sort of like if you're on Decisive Strike off the record Blood Rush and then the killer doesn't tunnel you, you're just like, well, I don't have a build. I don't get to use any of my perks now. It's sort of that same thing. If the killer is not super hard tunneling, this perk doesn't do anything really. And the thing is, the actual prevalence of very hard tunneling is not as high as you'd think. It does happen, don't get me wrong, but it's not the majority of your games. It truly isn't. I have done experiments about this before. If you think that is not the case, I recommend you actually record the results of the next 50 games you play and tell me how many times there was actually relentless hard tunneling on the same person until they died. It's not as common as you think. So you're basically leaving up to chance if this is even going to get any value being on your build. But if you do see that someone's been hooked before and they were immediately tunneled off the hook and then they were put on another hook, so now they're on death hook, then you have a better chance of guessing that the killer is going to be tunneling that person again. But for everyone that does not super hard tunnel, the way I look at this perk is I look at it like flashlights, where more often than not, all it's going to do is get survivors killed even faster, but very strong coordinated teams can make very good use of it. It really is like a flashlight. So the vast majority of your games, what's going to happen, like for me, for example, I try to 12 hook every game. If it's a very sweaty team, then obviously I'm not going to be able to do that, so I need to get a bit more sweaty myself. But I still try to spread pressure as much as possible, not even because I'm just so nice, but because the builds I use typically benefit from that, like Pain Res and Grim Embrace and stuff like that. It's better if I do that. So in that type of playstyle, as long as you're not super hard tunneling, all this is going to do is give you quicker downs for free. So think about the scenario. Someone's on death hook or whatever, and someone uses this special perk to unhook them. I was never planning to tunnel the guy off the hook anyway, but all they did was expose themselves, so they immediately go down. They go from 0 hooks to death hook instantly. For nothing. I was never going to tunnel the other guy anyway, so all you've done is just given me a free down for no reason. The fact that you become exposed for 20 seconds after this means that even if the killer is playing super sweaty and is hard tunneling, what they're likely going to do is just take the free down on you, because now you're on death hook instantly, and then 3 seconds later, they're still going to tunnel the guy that got off the hook. And so now you have a scenario where that guy's being chased, and he's on his first hook state now, but now you're on death hook, and now someone has to come unhook you, and one guy's on a gen. This is not a good scenario for you to be in as a survivor team. Even on super sweaty teams, it's not as amazing as you'd think unless everybody is running the perk and can sort of cycle hook states at will. That's when I think it's going to become very threatening as killer. But like I said, you're going to encounter that coordination 1 out of every 50 games or something. The vast majority of the time, people are just going to be killing themselves with this perk nonstop. Again, like flashlights, they're going to be out of position. They're going to be exposing themselves. They're going to be going from 0 to death hook for basically no reason. So that is why I think this perk is actually not super well designed. It benefits the wrong group of people. We don't want to make the super sweaty four-mans better. We want to make, solo queue better, because solo queue is just weaker than killer. It's like solo queue, killer, four-mans. That's like the standard hierarchy of strength in DBD. So it doesn't really make much sense. And I'm not really sure how you can fix that to make it better for solo queue. There is an indicator. You can tell on the UI when that's happened, but the killer can also see that too. So it's really this effect right here. The fact that you become exposed essentially means that if you do this against the killer that's proxy camping and tunneling, you're going from no hooks to death hook instantly. And that means that you're going to die unless someone else also has this perk and saves you. So I don't think it's going to be that great. I actually think in the vast majority of games, it's going to be more of a gimmick than anything that just simply gets people killed. And yeah, so overall, as a killer, I'm not worried about this perk in the slightest. Really, all you have to do to avoid this is not super hard tunnel people. You can even juggle. I think juggling is a smarter form of tunneling where you basically tunnel two people, so you don't have to deal with any of the second chance perks of one guy, and you're just going for this guy, and then you go back to this guy, and they're dead before anything else happens. That's a smarter form of tunneling, and even that completely circumvents this. So really, only if you're playing kind of dumb, in my opinion, does this perk do much of anything to you. And even if it does do something to you, you still likely put a new person on Death Hook for free. Now, I can think of a couple of scenarios, like if I'm running a specifically anti-tunnel build and the killer is super tunneling and like I'm in solo queue, I can do that. I can trade and put myself on Death Hook, and that's okay, because if the killer decides to tunnel me now, because now I'm on Death Hook and the other guy isn't, I have Off the Record and DS and Blood Rush and Sprint Burst. I'm equipped to deal with this. So that's the one benefit I can see in solo queue, is that you can basically taunt the killer's aggression onto yourself, but you have a build to deal with it. Now, the problem is you're still probably going to die for it, but it might overall be more beneficial to your team. So if you're very confident in your play and you have a full anti-tunnel build, I guess you can't have 5 perks, so you can't have, Blood Rush or something, but if you're very confident, you can do sort of a MMO taunt on the killer and force their aggression on you, which can be good for your team in certain circumstances, but it's pretty much always going to be bad for you specifically. So that's the way I see it. I don't think this perk's going to be that big of a deal in most of your games. I wouldn't really worry about it. Yes, you're going to get a super sweaty 4-man every 50 games or whatever. They were probably going to beat you anyway, with or without this. Let's be real. I mean, that's sort of how it is. If they are bringing comp strats and you're just kind of dicking around doing whatever, chances are you're probably not going to do so great. So overall, yeah, I'm not really worried about this perk, and I do think the design is not amazing because it benefits Rabid Friends and very sweaty groups and not the people it needs to benefit, which is solo queue. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Obviously, we're just talking about the PTB tier, so things could change. I might be missing something. This is just early speculation. Don't take it too seriously or anything like that, but those are just my thoughts. Thanks for watching.